again a pleasure to rise and speak in support of this bill. And can I again offer my congratulations to the Honourable Tariana Turia for being able to introduce and progress this very important piece of legislation. She must be immensely pleased with the first reading vote, 118 votes to 4, which is, as we, I suppose, have gently canvassed this evening, a slightly different vote from the last time legislation such as this passed through the House. But my colleague on the Health Select Committee, Michael Woodhouse, I think put his finger on the button. He said there has been a path of enlightenment since the last time, and I would remind Mr Woodhouse that that path, for the most part, obviously occurred under a Labour government because it's happened in the last 10 years. But it is pleasing to see that this issue has not been quite as contentious as it has been in the past, and the reasons why there is so much support for it have been thoroughly canvassed this evening. Parliament has a deep understanding of the effect that tobacco is having on our society, and no doubt I'll cover some of those again, but I would like to just perhaps discuss some of the arguments that have been put up against this, and of course they came from the Honourable Sir Roger Douglas and other members of the ACT party, and essentially they seem to cover a couple of areas. One was that they are opposed to tax increases, and that is their ideological position, and this is a tax increase and therefore they cannot support it, which is understandable. And another that it is people's personal responsibility to decide whether or not they take up smoking, how they try and quit smoking, and that is over to them as individuals and is not a public issue or even a public health issue. Well, obviously I would disagree with both of those points. Firstly, it seems a shame to put ideology in front of a measure which clearly works. All the evidence indicates that this measure will have an impact on smoking prevalence. Every time it has occurred in New Zealand in the past, it has had an impact. Every time it has been done overseas, it has had an impact that is measurable, and the research tells us that this is the right thing to do. So to put ideology in front of that, whilst understandable, I think is unfortunate and a bit of a shame. The other area around personal responsibility, Joe Goodhue touched on this very lightly, and that is the fact that smoking and nicotine is of course the addictive substance in cigarettes and in tobacco, and that is an addictive substance, and as soon as you become hooked on an addictive substance of any kind, your ability to demonstrate your personal responsibility, the ability to make logical, rational choices is utterly diminished. And I think that was... and again, can I acknowledge Joe Goodhue for touching on this as well, because when I got to sit in on the Māori Affairs Select Committee, the nurses organisation came and made their presentation, and they pointed out exactly the point that Joe Goodhue made, that nurses are amongst one of those groups that have a higher prevalence of smoking than the rest of the general population. And this was something which was discussed at length, that people who, I think the phrase was used, should know better, actually have a higher prevalence for all manner of reasons. Let's not go into why nurses might have a higher smoking rate than the rest of the population, but absolutely health professionals should know better. They have all the evidence in front of them. They see the effects on a day-to-day basis. They have to nurse people who are in their last days, who go through those painful effects of experiencing smoking-related disease, and yet they continue to smoke. And that, to me, is an indication of just how strong this addiction is, that with all that evidence in front of them, that group of people find it so difficult to give up this terrible affliction, and I think that is something that we've got to bear in mind when we're thinking about personal responsibility. Just where does that personal responsibility lie? And indeed, where does our responsibility as a nation lie in trying to assist those people who want to make this decision? Hone Harawira said 80% of smokers actually want to quit. And so it's important, I think, that we in Parliament and we as a nation actually try and support those people to make the right choices, to make that decision, and to give them the opportunities to actually follow through on that decision and to actually quit smoking forever. Can I acknowledge, when I'm discussing ACT's position, can I acknowledge John Boscawen? I think it's absolutely fantastic that Mr Boscawen has voted in favour of this bill, and can I thank him, I appreciate him for the kind words he made about my private member's bill. I hope that perhaps if that bill gets drawn from the ballot, or if indeed the government actually propose a similar bill that would achieve the same ends, that maybe more members of ACT might be able to get behind that. Because it doesn't lie in the same ideological position as a tax increase, and so I have a lot of hope from what Mr Boscawen said that the next logical move, the banning of tobacco displays, however that comes about, might actually see a little bit more support. And while we're talking about that, I think it's now time, with so much support from Parliament for this measure, which is absolutely being done in the right way. We are seeing increases year on year. We are seeing greater increases to the excise tax on loose tobacco so as to bring it in line with tailor-made cigarettes. I think this is absolutely the correct way to go about it, and that's why it's achieved so much support. So what's next? What do we do next? Because this bill in a way has something of a whakapapa. There has been a number of incremental steps over a number of years, other increases to excise tax, the amendments to the Smoke-Free Environments Act, which has seen smoking removed from pubs and restaurants, from the workplace, going right back. I think it actually started in airlines. These days we take it for granted that you would never light up on an aircraft, but of course there once was a time when you could, and then there was sort of smoking sections on the aircraft, just like there were smoking sections in restaurants, and I'm sure Mr Bridges and I do actually remember those days. We're not quite that young, so we've had this incremental step-by-step path, and this is another step along the way. So where do we go from here? Well, a number of anti-smoking advocates, and particularly this has been seen at the Māori Affairs Select Committee, people who have made their presentations have said they would like to see the end of tobacco smoking in New Zealand by 2020. Now that's a bold and audacious goal, and that is something which is going to require something, I think, a little bit more bold than the incremental steps which have occurred over the last few years. And there are a lot of different ideas about how we might achieve that. And I suppose the most obvious one, when you're thinking about trying to remove something from a culture altogether, is prohibition. I don't think there's an awful lot of support out there for prohibition. We have seen prohibition used in other substances, particularly alcohol, in the past, and it didn't have that much of an effect. But we don't have to go as far as prohibition to actually achieve this. And when the Health Sponsorship Council, which is an organisation, was actually set up as part of the Smoke-Free Environments Act, when they made their presentation to the Select Committee, they talked about a suite of proposals, a package that would achieve a step change. And I alluded to this a little in the first reading, but I'd like to just go over this again. They said that rather than the incremental changes, what we need to have is, in addition to increasing taxation on tobacco products, further restrictions or bans on point-of-sale tobacco displays, introducing the requirement for plain packaging of tobacco products, increasing support for cessation efforts, licensing of retail outlets that sell tobacco products, and developing an end-game strategy, particularly around, for instance, a tobacco control authority in New Zealand. Now, all of those ideas, I think, are open for debate. Let's not try and position anybody at the moment, but let's start the debate around all of those measures and start really talking about a step change and trying to achieve some of those audacious goals, because it is worth it. It is absolutely worth it. Tobacco smoking costs this country $1.7 billion a year, and it's increasing. It is far more than the taxation that is already taken. It costs immeasurable amounts in lives, in lost health, in productivity, and in just the social impact on families of nursing ill relatives, of having family members die at an early age. So this is a great bill. This is a step in the right direction, but I hope that in the near future we will see a considerable step up of the action so that we can really tackle this problem in the future. I commend this bill to the House.